Well, I'm just going to read poetry for those who are here. Gotta go get my book, though. 1 second, please. Alright. So, my lighting is terrible. Everything. I'm not sure if you can hear me. So, I wish that somebody was on right now so they could tell me if they could hear me. Trying to find a better place to put the phone. One moment, please. Alright. Well. Oh, apparently you can't turn the phone when you're live. Okay. This is harder than I thought it would be. Can we go upside down? And I'm probably upside down. I will start here on this night of poetry. All right. Well, let's read here, shall we? So, this is the first book that I put out along with Jeremy O'Neill and Bill Peck, who's lying on the floor down here. It's backwards because this is Facebook Live, but it's called Sucker Punch Wisdom. And it was a lot of fun to do. We put it out in 2012. The paper version is out of print, but there's still a version available on Kindle, and I even tried to make it free. They won't let me, so it's $1. So if you have $1, you want to check out about 20-some poems from 3 different poets, go to Kindle and look up Sucker Punch Wisdom. All right, so if you've never seen me before, yes, I'm a big dude. Yes, I wear a lot of rings. But I also write poetry. So these poems that are in this book were pre-written. You know, I didn't write them for this book. It was a collection. So some of them are pretty old. My style has changed a little bit since then, but I'm still going to read some of these old ones. Some of the ones I never read live because time is of such an essence when I read live. So, here is some poetry for you. This is an old poem of mine called Time for Comfort, and parenthetically, Trading. It's an experiment, life. Just a drop in this potion we're concocting. All the sands fall through the curved glass, descending to their temporary destination. Aging takes on a shape of sunshine, remaining bright until we finally fizzle out. No illusions of the permanent, just a small feeling of comfort. Home. Here's another one I don't read in public typically. It's called Wishes May Wait. And again, it's from Sucker Punch Wisdom. I walk slowly through the wishes that have fallen from my lips. Docile dreams that never found their way to reality. Sordid affairs blend with adolescent fantasy. The pathways aren't as clear. You're here, however, wearing desire like a t-shirt and laughing at some joke. Humor blends to stupor as I try to comprehend my original request of the heavens. I bend and stack wishes in piles of priority. Hopefully the courier will arrive. I will wait here in the only empty corner, praying I will touch more than your heart. Alrighty. This is weird with no audience at all. Well, somebody's watching. Who's here? I can't see who's here, but if you're here, leave a comment. All right. I'm going to read, this is one I haven't read in a long time. And I used to read it all the time. It's called Are You Talking to Me? I feel nothing from you. Nothing from your look. Nothing from your touch. But I think I heard it in a song once. Nothing ain't nothing, and if it ain't free. And God damn it, lady, I've spent a fortune on you. So then there's something. I mean, we have something, right? It may not be crystal clear, but I'm sure if we discuss it long enough, we'll figure out what it is. But conversation for you is always an internal battle. You're so worried about not being smart enough that you sound like an idiot. I promise, this time I'll sit, smile, and listen. Please, tell me your side. Your silence is your only sentence. My sentence is the 2 years I've spent battling this silence. Baby, I don't know what to say. You sit here on a chair in the corner with your dark hair draped over one shoulder. That's so sexy. I'm having a hard time thinking, but I guess I should focus. So focus I will. My attention is yours. So silence with just a hint of whimper is your speech. Well, that it is hard is a hard argument to dispute, is it not? Its hardness matches the looks you're flashing me. But again, it's not a competition. It's a conversation. Scratch that. It's a monologue. I am going to now honor one of the other fellow poets that are in this. Is it that? Yeah, speaking. It's what I do. Jeremy O'Neill. Just 1 second. I'm gonna grab a drink of something. Oh, here's something. It's still St. Patrick's Day, if you ask me. And I'm a poet. All right. Here we go. All right. So, I'm just inviting a few people to the reading here. See if we can't get a little bit more of an audience. You'll be able to watch this again later, though. So, if you're missing it now, that's no big deal. Of course, you just heard me say that if you're watching it later, so. I hope friends will invite friends who will invite friends. I wish I could mass invite. I cannot. All right. So I've invited some people. Okay. This again is from Jeremy O'Neill, who is a poet from Kansas City, Missouri, now lives in Iowa someplace, just because it's none of your business where he lives. All right. Occasions of myself. There have been occasions of myself falling into myself as if a manhole cover were purposely left out of place, when firm footing is suddenly not, and the pit of my stomach lodges in my throat, gulping to get out and up and away. There have been occasions of myself despising myself, and I contrive desperate ways of spitting myself in the face like nocturnal sled rides down the steepness of my decline. Then, when the speed and pitch are just right to bring sufficient gust just to hawk it up and not away, but briefly out of me, long enough to feel the difference before I catch up with that globular release, then smack. I recall why I spit in the first place. Contrast has a way of bringing me back, righting my keel, so I don't overdo the doom and gloom parties having a guest list of one, because I arrive fashionably late. I am so very seldom impressed It's on occasions like this that being pitiful and full of vinegar stands out as such a waste. Like checking my email every 5 minutes, hoping some she-surfer liked the look of my digitized face and my witty quotes and the recent novels I've read. Or maybe by chance clicked on the profiles I post that really say lonely between those thought out lines of poetry and likes and dislikes and dissertations on my height and my weight. It's thoughts like that. Yeah, just like that. But occasionally, man, it's moon dances and hot springs boiling with lunar buoyancy. It's hell yes fused with fuck yeah. Rip-roar motivation that makes my milquetoast alter ego look like the flimsy shell encasing an egg, hurtling it at the face of futility. It's rage at the gentling razor keen to clip me with neutrality. It's striving to make this the mostly, not just the occasional, reprieve. One second. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me okay? If you can, clip the thumbs up or something, just so that I know that I'm being heard. I think you can. It's pretty echoey in here. All right, I'm going to read a poem now from the other author of this book, William Peck. Bill, as a lot of people know him, also from Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, let me make sure I read one of his. We'll read this one. It's called Rain Dance. The clouds reach down to my war-torn corner with willowy hands, offering to share a dance. I look down at the blushing ground, counting the shadows of 1,000 bewildered and handsome hopefuls, dressed in spring colors, their faces so much more beautiful than mine. Their supple skin has touched nothing darker than shadows. Their faces are credulous as newborn clocks. You do not want me, I whisper. There's been some mistake. I've been shaken by 1,000 storms and my purity is lost. I'm a menage a trois of skeleton skin and scandal. I have already been tasting and tasted and probably wasted my better years in a starlit grove of pines, drinking wine from delusional poet-sized bottles, debating the plausibility of unicorns, and tomorrow and here at any turn is something so much greener, a youthful unsullied by sorrows and slippery slopes of justice. And yet still I cannot resist the persistent caress, soft as fog, seeking a song in my arms. You should not love me like this, I whisper with a smile, knowing my cause is lost. The thunder starts slowly like drums of a ballad, and I acquiesce, leading the rising wind to the center of the floor. The entire world recedes into chaos as we spin like the eye of a storm. That's Bill Peck, his poem called Rain Dance. So again, you can get this here on Kindle for 99 cents. It's a lot of poems in here. It's a big old poetry book. So check it out. Plus there's one in the back that the three of us wrote together. So it's fun. I like it. All right. Now, if you're just tuning in, which seems to be... Jessica, are you still here? It says you are, but then again, it doesn't say that anybody's watching, so I don't know. I'm doing this because tonight is usually Poets and Pints, but due to the, crazy virus shit, I don't get to do my favorite thing I get to do every month. So I decided I'm going to do it anyway, just from my spare bedroom. So back to the reading. So my second book is called Aging and Other Side Projects. It used to be printed on Lulu and it looked like this. Then I moved it to Amazon and it looks like this because they don't give you a lot of choice. Same book. Okay. So in this book, again, I'm trying to read stuff that I don't typically read live because it's usually I only have a set amount of time. Here's one. It's a short one. Again, from Aging and Other Side Projects. It's called So Here We Are. I might be too weak for relationships. There's too much honesty requested, but not really wanted. With my if this, then that mind, I always perform poorly. However, solitude breeds sadness. It brings questions. She is not the answer to my questions. She is the exclamation in my silence. There's another short one in here that I never read live because it's short. Well, this one's probably a little apropos now because it's about how social media has replaced talking to each other. And I'm as guilty as anybody. This is not me being a hypocrite. This is just an observation. It's called social media. There was a time when families spoke to one another. It was a time before machines did the talking for us. A time when heaven was sought and hell was feared. A time like the past, except you could touch it. Except you could touch it. Breathe it. Facebook was sitting on the couch with mom in a photo album, listening to your life in utero and beyond. I won't lie and wish away modern loves. I will, however, occasionally shed a tear for the loss of shared time. I'm going to invite a few more people if I can. That's weird. I wonder how it decides who I can invite. Sorry, just inviting some people. More poetry in just one moment. All right. So, tonight's Poets and Pints was supposed to have George Colburn, Thressa Johnson, Dara Sirkin, and Dee Dee Coca. And we will be rescheduling each and every one of them. It might not be that they'll all be on the same show again, but I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. I don't like that the show got canceled. It bothers me. Okay, so more poetry. Okay. Sorry, there's somebody I wanted to invite. Yeah. So, let's, more poetry. Here we go. Okay. I would like to read another short one out of here, and then I'm going to do a cover of somebody else's work. It's called Petal. Not like petal a bike, but petal of a flower. Occasionally, I find flowers in my memories. I assume that they are there to make them pretty. The ugly things done or said suddenly smell better, look better. I use the petals as shelves. The soft surfaces eases sorrows, and it won't stop the crying. On the days when it's all too much, which doesn't happen too much, it's okay. I needed to water the furniture. Okay, so now I'm going to do a cover. And then I will go from there. All right. Sorry. Oh, did I just lose it? No, that's right. Okay. That's the good thing about being on my phone. So, all right. This is a long one. It was sent to me by Peter Stein, who is the president of the League of Minnesota Poets and a very good poet in himself. And he thought this is a poem I should read, and so I'm going to read it. But first I need a drink. As you can hear, my voice is getting scratchy. All right. I'm back. Okay. All right. Here we go. This poem is called Set the Warriors by Anis Mogani. First name is A-N-I-S. Last name M as in Mary, O-J-G-A-N-I. Set the Warriors. Set the warriors to sea in a ship with stacks of shields, layers of gold, mountains of swords. Set them to the sea with their livestock, with the whole farm. Lay them out with their wife, with the child. The rains are not here yet. They are not coming. Not today. Today, the gods are welcoming one of their own back home. So set the hero out on the waves that will bring him to the soft lands on the other side of the pink ether. He will float on fire until the ash consumes him. Like the mighty field he was, and like the legend he will become. The flames will dance upon his possessions, his belts and blankets, his goblets and arrows, his paintings, his passions. The flames will dance, spreading themselves across the flesh like the fingers of the soft lover he left as he sleeps this last sleep. And as the fires eat him away, the heat will write his skin across the clouds. to join the constellations that will guide the sailors at storm, the herders lost in the clouds. They will all come home by following the direction his eyes are facing. The sky is filled with smoke. This is history. This is legend. This is what the stories are made from, what we were, what we once were. When you fall in battle, they will take your corpse with the life you made in this world and set it out to sail with you until the next one, so that you will be king, remain forever the golden being you breathed as on this side of the mountain. When you die, your life will follow you like a shadow into the light. Fuck that. When I die, bury me with nothing but my skin. Who wants this world interrupting the next one? I spent my whole life trying to outrun this thing called mine. If I set myself into your soft arms, would you hold me like the quiet earth? Would you? I am yours. I am you. Give me a mountain. Give me an open field, a big sky. Give me your mouth. I'm looking for a quiet place that I could die in. Again, that poem was called Set the Warriors. And now that I think about it, I think he sent me that to read at my friend's funeral. That was last week. A friend of mine named Justin Harriman. So, rest in peace, buddy. That was for you. All right. Welcome, George. All right. Tell your friends. There should be more people here. Should be treating this like a Poets and Pints with just me, I guess. But I will say this. I am open to people sending me poems to read cold right now. I am opening my email. So, send poems to Cracked Walnut MN, as in Minnesota. So crackedwalnutmn@gmail.com. I will see those poems. I will read those poems. And we will go from there. So let me pull up that email so that I have it when it's time. Let me take this time while I'm logging in to remind you that Cracked Walnut is a nonprofit here in town. I know there's only a couple people on right now, but maybe you're watching this later. So we're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, and we are one of the two local chapters of the League of Minnesota Poets. And so we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We specialize in creating places to perform poetry. The other group, the Mississippi Valley Writers Group, which is the other local group, they are mostly a writing group. So we do have a little bit of both for you. So again, if you would like me to read something cold, I'm happy to do it. I just need to know what you want me to read. You can email it to crackedwalnutmn@gmail.com. And I will just read it because I'm not scared. I'm taking 2 seconds to get logged in here. All right. So, no poems as of right now. That's fine. Okay. But send me one. I'll read it. Okay, so we read something from my first book, Sucker Punch Wisdom, and I read something from my second book. I don't know why I keep my drink over there. My second book, Aging and Other Side Projects. This is my third book, and I know the writing is backwards, but it says felt this so many times. And since Jessica's on, Jessica made a companion book, Jessica McGann, of LFK. She made these little mini books, which I sold them all. I don't actually even have one for myself, that were called The Little Times. They were companion books that went with this. So if you have one of those, congratulations. There was only 75 of those made, and even I don't have one. So, this is called Felt This So Many Times. I'm going to read a poem that I don't usually read out of here. Here's one. This is called The Stew Would Be Different. I remember when I couldn't remember. When the room smelled like old grass and I was never going to be a human. The haze played well with the battle of self-worth. Low thoughts are often overlooked. Comedy happens. Laughter propels beyond anything of sense. Simple looks become the best joke ever told. Breath becomes short, yet I continue to inhale. And there is always a moment when the joke leaves the room. Then it's all stares and hunger. The foods consumed had the nutritional value of a beach ball. Also, the gateway label isn't a complete fallacy. I had journeys, and I did far more damage to my heart than my lungs. In more ways than I can count. I want to say that I shouldn't have put it on my tongue, that I shouldn't have put her on my tongue, that I shouldn't have explored the dark rooms in my head. I want to say this. But every action is an ingredient. You take one away and everything is different. I wouldn't be comfortable with that either. Since my stepmother is actually on right now, I'm going to read the poem I wrote for my dear old grandma when she passed away. I haven't read this one in public. It's called Graham. The sounds of family was the only peace she needed. A crossword and a visiting neighbor brought on a joy that was passed into her food. Though she would complain about it right after. Her view was that of a wife and mother and grandmother. She made sure I felt love in a family where I often felt foreign. We passed so much time together. But life is a light, and all light fades. The result isn't darkness. It's space. Space we don't know what to do with. For now, I'm storing my memories there. Nespatadu. Just you wait. Once was her warning. Now, a promise for the future. For Rose Plocido, Graham, 1925 to 2017. Miss you, Graham. All right. Let's move on. All right, let's do something funny. Mike Finley's here now, and I want him to laugh. Some of you have heard me do this piece a bunch of times. Some of you, none of the times. It's not mine. People send me memes and shit like it's mine. But I did not write this poem. I repeat, I did not write this poem. This poem was written by Mr. Shane Hawley of St. Paul, Minnesota. And he is an amazing poet, and you should check out all of his work. Anyway, it's called Wile E. Coyote. I think I'll stand for this one. Hello. It'll work this time. It has to. I've spent the better part of 19 hours crafting this mural on bedrock. And 3 full days before that, redirecting this winding desert road so that it ends abruptly here at the foot of my masterpiece, a rock wall, painted to look like a tunnel, a way out. But there is no way out. My name is Wile E. Coyote, and I am so fucking hungry, inexplicably stuck in this lifeless desert, my only companion, a mindless blue bird who I'm forever doomed to chase, to whom all the laws of the universe bend, then break. This is my existence. Compulsively ordering one ridiculous contraption after another. Even though I'm on to you at Acme, I know you're fucking with me. I am hours of flight suits, or a working magnet, or a lit wick short of supper. And I deserve it. I've left my imprint all over this desert. I've been pancaked, incinerated, run over, diced, and buried. I've accepted failure with only simple signs pulled from invisible back pockets, begging for your empathy, as if it will cushion what comes next. And whoever fancies himself my maker was cruel enough to imbue upon me the knowledge of how things are supposed to be. Rockets fire upon ignition. Rocks roll when the pull is great enough against them. The trajectory of a catapult is not arbitrary. Predators catch prey. Can you imagine how it feels? Your best laid plans crumbling around you, peering into the mouth of fate, only to have it blow up in your face. It's enough to make you wonder if it isn't better to be a perfect physical specimen than it is to be bright. When all the time that you spent lost in thought has been a waste. When all along it was easier to just run. I'm a super genius, and I can't catch a flightless bird who grins as I drool for his flesh. I keep at it as if the next bow will fire the arrow instead of me. As if the poison bird seed will somehow end up in his mouth instead of mine. The curse of the addict is to chase the thing that destroys you. But until you've done it, until you've launched yourself off that 1,000-foot cliff for that thing that you love, you will never understand the gravity of my plight. This is it. The culmination of my mania. This fake fucking tunnel is the best that I can do. And when the dust settles, I will stand firmly on red sand. His broken blue neck clenched in my teeth. Because this time, it'll work. It has to. That was Shane Hawley's piece called Wile E. Coyote. And that one's a lot of fun to do. All right, where are we? Hello. Well, I'm going to sit here and invite a few more people, since I can. So give me 2 seconds. Because I want to do it. This invite friends to watch thing is so clunky. All right. Okay. More poetry. Right? Who's that? Sarah. Welcome, Sarah. How are you? All right. Now, what else do I got here? Oh, yeah. Let's do that. I have more poems. Lots of poems. So, let's read one that I've written since the last book. This is sort of my poem where I am complaining. So, look, I know I live in the bluest area ever, and I'm not complaining about that. I like it. I agree with 99.9% of the things that come out of people's mouths in this area. But it's, oops, sorry for the thing. It's a little too pitchforky for me. And so because of that, I wrote this poem called Spectrums. And it's not complaining about people having a problem with the world as it is, because I have a problem with the world as it is. I'm a little just disappointed in the cancel culture and the pitchforks that come out so quickly these days. So quickly. So, again, it's called Spectrums. What happened to spectrums? Apathy, activism. Sadness, glee. Healthy, dying. All we know is that the ends are bad. We float in the middle feeling righteousness or guilt. No one is entitled to an opinion outside of their friend circle, unless the goal is to obtain a new friend circle. But conversation has died. Spectrums have died. They were buried together, given a funeral. Eulogies were spoken with picket signs. Crying was allowed, but considered a form of protest. My opinion was at that funeral. It stood 15 paces away against a tree, watching chaos lower the coffin. Quiet. We hear calls to be involved, but it's all or nothing. Some of us are just left with fear, frozen. I love you, But I'm not going to talk to you about this. I guess we can hope these are not our final words. Oh, I'm going to stick with this as long as I can. All right. Okay. Here we go. Here's one that I read all the time live. But maybe you've never heard it. Maybe you're watching this sometime in the future. That's kind of weird. Anyway, I'm going to take another one of these. Sláinte. I don't drink out of the bottle usually. There's just barely anything left in it, so I'm sipping out of the bottom. There's no sense getting a glass. Okay. This is called A Small Amount of Humility. And it starts with a quote. True humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. By C.S. Lewis. I'm not really sure if he sounds like that. I've never heard him speak. Anyway, here we go. The clock is ticking. The noise should be constant, but it's tick, tick, tick. Then it's tick, tick, tick. And suddenly your heartbeat no longer lines up. You feel like you're dying by the second or the half second. It really depends on when that tick happens. Feeling death or thoughts of dying is what we do after 40. We balance whether or not this cheeseburger's worth the extra 30 minutes it's taking. It is, by the way. In my last 30 minutes, I'll be thinking about all the great food and forgotten meals consumed in front of the television. People in life encourage humility. They tell you, be humble in sports. It's only a game. They tell you, be humble to your family, for they are the ones who will love you, whether or not you ever improve. They tell you, be humble before God, because, well, I'm not really sure. And also, fuck that. When I die, I want people to be so shocked that they shut down like a soldier who developed PTSD as a child. When I die, I want there to be a service so grand that people wish they could have had an invite. When I die, I want it to create a hole so big that physics can't fill it. I want everything I've written to be read again to children, even the fuck words, because you should only trust people who curse. I want my stuff to have a presence on eBay. I want a fireworks ceremony so I can scare the shit out of my cats one last time. And I want to be the character that everyone is pissed it's gone this next season. I want a memorial bench so I can support you. I know I haven't always. Look, when all we're given is a murderous teacher named time, when all we have is what we leave behind, it shouldn't surprise you that I want some immortality. Who's selling it? Where can I buy it? You want to be loved in life. I want to be loved eternally. I want you to remember me smiling and then laughing so hard that I make zero noise. I want you to remember how blue my eyes were when the sun finally came out. And I want that clock to hit the second like it's supposed to every single time. My heart doesn't like the spaces. Hope you are having fun. I'm sorry we don't have Poets and Pints tonight. This is the best that I can do. And I'm not sure if there is a way that to do like a group. I don't think there's a way like I could let other people talk. Is there? No, not really. Sorry. Okay. So, poetry. All right. Let's go. I'm looking at really old stuff now. All right. See, back in the day, I used to try to rhyme a little bit too hard. One moment, my mom is. Sorry about that. I'm back. Okay. So, old stuff. See, no, that's too rhymey and dumb. I still haven't got, again, if you want me to read a poem cold, send it to crackedwalnutmn@gmail.com and I will just open it and read it. Cold, because I like doing that. No, okay. I can't find what I'm looking for. So, before I bore everybody, I'm just going to go back into here. Oops, wrong file. Please forgive me. That's the one I was looking for. All right, so here's another poem. Poem is probably a loose interpretation of what this is. But basically, it's making fun of internet trolls. Making fun of internet trolls. And note, this is satire. This is not me saying this. This is making fun of people who would say this. Okay. Trolls regenerate unless you burn them. For all you nerds out there. I'm fucking fascinating, man. I'm also right. I'm going to use random grammatical symbols as swear words because I believe it means I'm kinder than you. I am the political poster, the Facebook educator. Please don't mistake me for people who research a topic, squares, or the people who actually lived through the thing I'm preaching about, whiners. I am the righteous. I have been given the gifts of God and the internet to educate you poor peon fools. I am the voice of my followers. Facebook calls them my friends, but we know they salivate for my next post, my next jab, my next screw those liberal assholes and those red dipshits. I'm inventing a new side. So, if you can read this post, then you can feel this post. And that's all I really needed from a day. Send. Breathe. Put a smile on for the aftermath. Like I said, poem is a loose interpretation of what that is. I want to read more covers. So, let me find those. Because I feel weird only reading my shit. Just feels kind of gross. So I will read this one because I love it. It's one of my favorite poems in the world. And I didn't write it, as usual. So, this poem is called... Sorry, I'm looking for the page down button. Ah, okay. This poem is called Letter to the Past After a Long Silence by Sarah Murphy. I don't know who Sarah Murphy is. If you know where I can find more work from this poet, please send it to me. Please. Because I only have ever found this poem, and her name is Sarah Murphy. It's very hard to find her anywhere. Okay. Letter to the Past After Long Silence. Don't be alarmed. I come unarmed, or at least undrawn. No claws, no bombs, no mobs, I promise. Odd how I've forgotten the soft fog clouding my brain. Gone the long rain of hate, the tight rain of terror. Gone the arid air laced with mace. I'd wager you'd wish to live in peace, to wake at night to silence. No guns, no thunder, flame and plunder, just a cadence of rain. Each drop erasing failure's stale taste, and I bet my name dismays you greatly. So please, let me state my case. To be plain, I miss you. I know that sounds inane, your stagey ways, your fainting, your shameless parlor games. Tell me, are shards still shaken into your eyes, your hair as dark as starlings? Are you still arch, charming, artful on guard, ardent, jarring, sparring with the stars? Tell me, how does your garden grow? You know, it wasn't all hell. Swelter, swelling, trembling. Shells pelting our tents, welts, welter, wreckage, the stench of fly-specked flesh. Hey, sometime the sky held only bells. The dells welled with light and my head bent to the fire where you knelt, deftly dealt the deck, fortune-telling, sending velvet spells. Do I digress? I guess. I meant to say a blessing, pay a debt. But my tongue is heavy as felt. Listen, I'm climbing memory's slippery rungs. Listen, my hands are cold. Oh, I know it's over. Still, you filled my lungs with summer. The town was one tunnel of green, and I was still a girl twirling in the trees, my body softened by August, my heart humming a field full of bees. Love, it's a little lonely without you. I sit on a porch, swing and whistle, but stillness still stings. Love, I miss your stories above all other things. So that is Sarah Murphy's Letter to the Past After Long Silence. And it is awesome. Ooh. Here's another good one. It's another one I like to read. All right. I got a cat meowing out the door, so sorry if you hear that. There's not a lot I can do about it. But it is what it is what it is. All right, so now I'm going to read from this book here called Three-Legged Dog by a poet named Donald Caswell. And yes, I know it's all backwards. But this book, you might have heard me tell this story before. I was in a bookstore. I was on a random poetry grab. So basically, I was going to grab a poetry book off the shelf and buy it. Now, I've done this many times, so this doesn't always happen. But this quickly became one of my favorite poetry books. So Donald Caswell, if you're somehow watching this, I'm a big fan of this book. He's in Florida someplace, that's all I know. I don't even know if he's still alive, but this book you should find. It's really good. And this poem is called Why I Am a Poet. I am a poet. I am not a carpenter. Sometimes I think I'd rather be a carpenter, but I'm not. For instance, Gene, my carpenter friend, is building a house. I drop in, he gives me a hammer, he says, start pounding. I pound, we pound, I look up. Where's the roof? I'm not that far yet, he says. I go and the days go by and I drop in again and the roof is up. And I go and the days go by and I start a poem and I am thinking of stars. And I write a poem about stars. I grab a typewriter and start pounding. And soon there are pages, acres of words about stars. And the coffee is gone. So I go to a restaurant and I buy a beer. And the woman next to me tells me how she was raped by her stepfather when she was 12. So she ran away with an ex-con who got popped again for cocaine, left her pregnant. So she married a GI and moved to Germany where the baby died of kidney failure. So she came home to live with her mother. And I drink a lot of beers. And then I go outside. And I lie in a vacant lot looking up at the stars, thinking how many they are and what a wonderful poem they would make. And I fall asleep with a beer in my hand. In the morning, the beer, the stars, and my wallet are gone. So I go to see Jean, and the house is finished. A family is living there. They show me their dog. There are flowers blooming, cabbage is cooking in the kitchen, so I go home and I write another poem. And one day Gene drops in and he looks at the poem, and now it's 12 poems, all neatly stacked, ready to be read, and he asks, where are the stars? And I say, I'm not that far yet. This guy. I'm going to read you another one of his, because if you've seen me perform, you've probably seen me do that one before. So, let me read this one. I haven't read this as many times, so I'll consider this a relatively cold read. It's called Re-Entry. It starts with a quote. When I close a book, I open life. By Pablo Neruda. You won't believe this, she said, and led me into a tilled field to look at the stars. I didn't believe it. The space between us disappeared, and I could see behind her eyes to where every thought is a memory, every vision an insight. No one told me I would ever get this far from myself. A world fills the space between my pen and the page, and it cannot be ignored. Unlike returning astronauts, sealed against contamination, this poem reflects the world, is itself infected, grows when you run between your lips. When you run breath between your lips and move your tongue, even when you read silently as if you were a child, You have given it a voice. You won't, she said, believe this. And led me past the edge of the field as a meteor ripped a long white tear in the sky. Skylab, she said. A mistake from the past come back to haunt us. But I knew better. Every meteor is a lost child coming home. And every poem is a forgotten word finding its way back into the language. A world creates itself inside your head. How do you know it was not there all along? Always you've known this field. The stuttering stars and moon that howls. You've always known this breeze, walking along the hairs on your arm. Always this mystery, this lady with gray eyes. Always this language. Always the language has explained itself while her mouth moves and she traces on your lips the outline of a word with no sound. A word that says, believe this. So again, that book is Three-Legged Dog by Donald Caswell. Has anybody sent me a poem? No. You guys should send me poems. I will read them. crackedwalnutmn@gmail.com. Send a poem. I'm going to go back to the first book. And read a poem that I don't usually read live. It's more prose than a poem, I would say. It's called Less Than the Moon. It's kind of staying with the sky as a theme, I guess. I sat wallowing in this day. As hot as it was, I should have melted. But the waxy layer of my skin has long been worn away by the wrinkles of time, so I wallow. Now that's a word that I love so much that I tend to linger in it. Almost drown in it, which is somewhat ironic, I guess. The moon is making faces at me. I love its reflection in the lake. It's good to know that I can look down on something that is hundreds of miles away. And yes, it's weird that I can feel superior to what is essentially a floating rock. My standards of late are a bit substandard. What do I know about standards? It was this place, this lake, where I first took her hand. She had a sadness to the way she touched me. It was slow, drawn out, messy even. Even with all that being true, desire was instant, infinite. It flowed like the sweat creeping down the small of my back, and I didn't deserve her. This isn't some kind of defeatist attitude about my life or my physical attributes. I mean that I treated her poorly up to this point. Being the superhero that she was, she saw through the thick layer of bullshit and touched my hand anyway. Right here, this very spot. Now, like the moon, I stand alone. I only seem to shine at night, and my light is not my own. Beyond that, I have no other lunar power. I don't move the tides. I don't affect the female mood. And it seems that, if anything, the earth is pushing me away. That's a really old one. I think I wrote that in 2005-ish, 4, somewhere in there. So, I read a bunch of sad ones in a row, so I'm trying to find something funny. I have something. It's in here. This is, I will say this. There's one reason why this is better than being on stage is I don't feel the clock ticking. You people can go if you want to go, and you can come back if you want to come back. There's not that many people here. I think there's just one, which is fine. Where is it? Oh, I haven't read this in a long time. This is pretty old. All right. This is called My Love, or parenthetically, or an allergy to orange phalluses. It's not about Trump. It's very old. I mean, yeah. She doesn't talk to me as much as I'd like, but it's got to be fucking hard to be that woman. Her world is mutating, changing, hell, even falling down, and I want her to take a minute and tell me that she misses me? It's absurd. I'm starting to realize that my idiocy is growing. I'm treating my love like the proverbial carrot on a stick. I just keep dipping it down into her world without even asking if she even likes carrots anymore. Maybe she developed an allergy to the orange phalluses, or she doesn't have the time in this storm to tell me about her reaction. I wish I could wait patiently for it all to be over, but my view of the situation is so non-existent. So my overactive mind keeps screaming at me that I will miss it. It keeps telling me that if I become forgotten, even for a moment, her memory of me will evaporate with all the rain that has fallen. I am sure that I'm more like that 3-year-old who's just tugging on her pant leg. You love that 3-year-old to death, but you just wish it would shut up for 5 seconds so you could think. You wish it would get distracted by some toy on the dollar rack so you could both be satisfied, if not just for a short time. I am no fortune teller, but I do know that I want to wait. I like this anticipation. Unless the impossibility is made clear, I will be waiting here, petting the heart on my sleeve. I will continue to remind her that love sits here with this book of opportunities. Whether or not she shows up here someday is not in question. The question is whether or not she'll stay. I did move on. This didn't, turn into anything. But, like I said, it's an old poem. So, I was going to announce this at Poets and Pints, which would have been tonight. Some of you have popped on, as I would have seen you. But there is no Poets and Pints tonight, so instead, what we have here is this. Our April show is going to be amazing. We have poets coming on from the Warrior Writing Project, from Mac House, from the Diamond Coffee Shop Writing Group, from the Nerve Poets, from the Asian American Literary Collective, from Palabristas, from... Damn it, I don't want to forget anybody because that feels really shitty. So give me 2 seconds and I will pull it up. I don't have a mouse. I wish I had a mouse. Oh, balls. I clicked on the wrong thing. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. And so yeah, I said the Nerve Poets. Oh, from Air. We also have somebody from Air. Their show is typically on the second Wednesdays at Honey, but I just saw a Facebook post that I think Honey might have closed. That's very sad. Air was a really good show, and let's hope they find another home. But anyway, and then the creme de la creme, the highlight, or the headliner, I should say, of the show, who works closely with True Art Speaks, the one and only Desdemona, will be headlining the show. So that is April 15th on tax day. Poets and Pints, 7 to 10 p.m. Sisyphus Brewery. As long as this whole quarantine business is gone, it's going to be a really good show. And I am very excited to host it. And then some other things we got coming up is May. Our show is being curated and hosted by the one and only Katie Venino. So she's putting together the poets. And then the July show is being curated and hosted by Button Poetry. So we have got some insane things coming up. I'm very excited about it. Granted, the venue doesn't close like Honey did. That's so sad. All right. I think that I'm going to read one more and then get out of here, because I have basically been reading poetry for over an hour. Some of it's been talking, so it says an hour 23, but not all of it is me reading. You know what? I'm going to do two more because I really want to do this one. It's a sad one, but God, I love this poem. It is mine, but I love the way this one turned out. This one's called Precipitation. There is often sadness at the ends of her sentences. It sounded like rain coming through the roof. It could have been relaxing if there wasn't a slow destruction happening. She liked to hold my hand when she spoke of stubborn subjects like love or yesterday. She said it kept her from drifting. I would catch her drift, so I would speak of center lines, lanes, and how to drop this nonsense. I mean, we had to share the road. I used to dream that she would talk to me back before I knew how much her accent would affect me. Like this weather. I wanted to stay dry. But that's not what rain does. And now, I will do my poem argument, which I need to do with a swill of whiskey. Okay. Fun with rhyming. Aaron, if you're still on, you'll appreciate this. Or maybe you've heard this before. Well, I like to be right. This is what's left of our conversation after our battle. What, I should feel bad about it? I should let sad grab a hold of these untold emotions and let oceans and oceans of history where you were pissed at me spill out into tears? Buckets of tears? Fuck it. Barrels of tears to the point where it just seems queer. No, that's not a gay joke. And I'm not saying this just to stoke you or to provoke you into some kind of fire. That is the opposite of what I desire. What I want is silence. A blind sense that the world is at peace at the beast to cease, telling me that I suck, that I suck my foot in again. Instead of every sin, it isn't displayed like the song Crimson and Clover over and over in my fucking head. Oh, I feel dead when I'm talking to you. There's no glue to your thought process. It's all, you're going to have to do this. Well, I don't have to do shit. Plus, my head's already broken. It folds in when I try to hold on to thoughts. It's wrought with wispy wonders that it understands are things with mass. Did you take a science class? Do you know what I mean? Joy's the steam in this engine, and I'm stuck on the tracks, and I can't relax on this state. I can't move to another one. Do we have sun? I feel like I feel like we should have kids. I feel it's the only explanation for anxiety like this, for you to ride me like this, for you to stand around so proud and ride around my hopelessness like a carnival carousel. I don't think you understand what this ride is. Your pride is misguided, and I'm standing 1 foot off the cliff. And your words are the stiff breeze I need to blow me into the heavens. There are 7 stages of grief. And I think you've given me 6. Well, I may have mixed my metaphors. I may have peed on that bed of yours. But that doesn't change the fact that it's my bed too. So I didn't just do it to you. And for that, I've bought myself some silence. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to some poetry tonight. You too could do this. I believe you're able to go on the Cracked Walnut Facebook page and... No, you can't go live on the page, I don't believe, because I'm a moderator. But you can go live and share on the page when you're doing that. And do your own poetry hour. And it's fun. Because you just get to sit and read your own shit. Really. And nobody's telling you it's time to get off stage. So. Peace. Have a good night. Be good to each other. Stay in. Don't get other people sick. You don't know if you're sick. It takes 14 days to find out. So. Don't mess around. All right, everybody. Good night. I'm Tony Plocido. You can see my work on mentalvalley.com. That's mentalvalley.com. I am also part of Cracked Walnut. I'm the host of Poets and Pints. Every third Wednesday at Sisyphus. God willing. And that's it. Keep poetry in your life. It's good for you.